Destiny 2 is many things, a truly vast array of quality variety that offers an incredible spectrum of things to do, from the simple to the complicated, from the easy to the hard, from the casual to the hardcore. This long spectrum on offer also inevitably breeds a variety of player types. This video is mostly dedicated and aimed at you, the die-hard, hardcore player. It may well also touch upon casual players, but as I've said, it's really mainly about hardcore fanboys, a term that gets used a lot within Destiny groups. And just to be perfectly clear, this video is not meant to offend any of you who might well identify as one of those exact player types. In fact, it is meant to highlight the flaws of the arguments made in some instances by those players. Firstly, I want to establish what my definition of a hardcore Destiny diehard player is. And to me, it's quite a specific player with a slight broad variation within it. You see, this type of player had never played a game like Destiny before. The whole entire concept hooked him in from the moment he got his hands on the game for the first time. It confused him how such an incredible game could even come to exist, and he wondered why it had never existed before, because in his eyes it was perfect in every single possible way. I mean, he absolutely fell completely and utterly in love with it. It's all he could think about every minute of every day, and he would play it at every single possible chance that he would get. It's very likely that he created his own clan, and then he delved deep into finding others just like him to play with and to join his clan. They would grind together non-stop, forming bonds that he had never formed before inside of a game, striving to be that go-to player that would always make himself available to do the hardest tasks in the game, like learning to be the sword bearer on Crota before everyone else, or holding the relic in the Vault of Glass. Always trying to be that player that everyone else looked up to and aspired to be. This player would defend the game against any negativity and every single bit of criticism with tooth and nails, blindly putting forward every possible argument to desperately try and counter any flaw, weakness, or imperfection that was being highlighted by others that weren't themselves blinded by the love of the game. You see, this description is exactly who I was. Destiny 1 to me will undoubtedly forever be one of the greatest games ever made. Everything about it was just all that I ever wanted in a game, and I stood up for it. I defended it any way I could, and I would get angry every time I saw others criticize it. Fortunately, Destiny 2 opened my eyes. It showed me how wrong I was, and I could finally see all the flaws that I couldn't see before. There are many Destiny 2 players out there that are unfortunately still in that trance, hypnotized by a flawed game that's barely even a shadow of its predecessor. A game that continuously promises everything, but continues to deliver very little. There's no doubt that Bungie hit a home run with the Destiny series. The story, the lore, it's all undeniably interesting and mysterious. The mechanics are the nearest thing to what you might call perfect when it comes to shooters and looters in the current age of gaming. But it does have an enormous weakness, which no single developer has yet been able to crack, and that is longevity. We can clearly see that Bungie are truly facing much more difficulties now than they did originally. Higher quality content is increasingly becoming more and more difficult to find and develop. Ideas are starting to become scarce. Content is more often being recycled and reskinned than built afresh. And what these hardcore players don't seem to understand is that it's actually completely normal. It is impossible for Bungie to continue to introduce innovation into Destiny 2, which of course leads to players just like myself nowadays to criticize the game. To me, it's so clear that Bungie are almost desperately trying to come up with ways to keep players grinding, but most importantly, to keep players spending. I mean, that is the name of the game now. It's not about creating amazing DLC and content that's gonna blow everyone's mind and that it's going to evolve the game beyond any of our expectations. It's really about how to make the product as profitable as possible. As profitable as they absolutely can. And one of the ways that's being applied more and more in Destiny by Bungie is to create loops, forcing the player to keep doing the same exact things over and over and over again with the promise of rewards at the end of that rainbow. Introducing things like transmog, creating more and more ornaments for every piece of gear under the sun, using season passes to entice you to buy the DLC, and of course the list goes on. In my opinion, we can still get more out of Bungie. It's kinda like what Microsoft used to do when they were the publisher for Bungie, for the original Halo games. You see, Microsoft pushed Bungie to make high-end quality content. And you can say what you will, but also exactly like Activision, who also pushed Bungie to deliver consistent high-end quality DLC for Destiny 1 as well as Destiny 2 to some extent, but now, since Bungie went off on their own, there isn't anyone to push them except the players that can continue to criticize and point out the flaws of what they're doing to the game. Hardcore players can really make this difficult. They blindly defend a game that needs to start heading in a different direction. Thank you all again for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.